can't do this, I can't even do the first page. I'm never going to pass this exam. Hey everyone, and welcome to the very first video of 2020. It is the 1st of January, so that means that exactly a month ago I sat the JLPT, my very first one ever. So if you don't know what the JLPT is, it is the Japanese Language Proficiency Test, or the Nihongo Noroku Shiken in Japanese. And this is kind of just a standardized test that essentially tells you how good or bad you are at Japanese. But for those of you that don't know, there are 5 levels, N1 being the most difficult and N5 being the easiest. Because I've never gone to Japanese school apart from that 1 month when I was in Osaka, I didn't really know where my level was. So the reason I decided to take it was A, to find out kind of where I sat in terms of my abilities, and B, to make sure that I kept studying even though I'm not in Japan at the moment. So I thought that if I paid for the test, then it would motivate me to keep studying and keep improving my Japanese rather than just forget it all by speaking English every day. So today I thought that I would share some of my personal tips for taking the JLPT, even though I don't know if I've passed or not yet, so they may or may not be helpful to you at all. I am a big nerd when it comes to studying, and I do love a good textbook. So I did use 3 different textbooks to study for this exam. With textbooks, there are so many out there, but I would definitely recommend getting one that's specific for the JLPT. The 2 main ones that people kind of recommend are the Shin Master series and the Matome series. And I actually tried both. So my main holy grail textbook was the Shin Master series, particularly the reading comprehension and the grammar book. There are also 3 other ones. There's listening, kanji, and vocabulary, but I didn't use them at all. But that reading comprehension thing saved my life. Actually, I bought these books when I was living in Osaka, and I remember first opening them and going, right, let's study, and not being able to understand anything. I was I'm never going to pass this exam. But after learning a little bit more, I was actually able to get through both the books, and when I finished that reading comprehension book, I felt very accomplished. Just saying. So the other one that I did try was the Matome series, and again I worked with the reading comprehension and then also used their kanji book. But I found these to be really, really easy, especially after doing the Shin Master. So if you're going to buy any textbook, I would 1000% recommend the grammar and the reading comprehension of the Shin Master series. I also had this pink book, which I'd done 2 chapters of when I was studying in Osaka, but I kind of went through that as well, just to use as revision, and because I don't like starting a textbook and not finishing it completely. Anyway, continuing on. Apps! I only used 1 app the whole time for my Japanese studies. There is only 1 app you need, and that is this one, Anki. It's not even actually the app because I don't want to pay for it. This is just literally the website on my phone. And Anki is a spaced repetition learning sort of flashcard app. I've got 3 different decks in my Anki: vocabulary, kanji readings, and also kanji meanings. So this one is from the RTK, or remembering the kanji thing. So this is what I would do when I'm on the train to work and just sort of smash through about 100, 200, 300 flashcards, and I found that this really, really helped. Websites! So the main website I used was Nihongo no Mori, which is actually a YouTube channel, and they provide JLPT grammar lessons in Japanese. So it really helps with your listening ability as well as learning new vocabulary and new grammar. The teacher, Kento Sensei, he's a bit of a dag. It's great, and there's stupid little skits and things in there to help you remember the type of situations in which you might use these different grammar patterns. Second up, I used learnjapanesedaily.com and wordgrammar.net for practice questions and tests. Final website I used, this was actually YouTube again. There are so many practice listening exams on YouTube, and that is what I did to practice my listening. The main thing about the listening section in the exam is it's real long, so you've got to keep concentrating and focusing on what they're going to say for the entire 40 minutes. I find that I sort of lose interest after about halfway, so that helped me to train my endurance with listening. But my tip for you would be that the actual exam speaks much faster than any of the practice exams that I found online. So if you run it at sort of 1.25 times speed on YouTube, then you'll be totally set for the real thing. But not all study has to be just out of textbooks. I did also have some, like, I guess you'd call it fun studying. So I watched Chibi Maruko-chan, which is like a cartoon on YouTube, just for like passive learning. And then also, you know, the classic Terrace House on Netflix that everyone watches. I also used some actual Japanese reading material to practice my reading and increase my vocabulary. One of those, and the first Japanese book that I ever finished, was called Harinezumi to Issho. And this is like a comic where it has cute pictures that I just like really loved, and I really like hedgehogs, so it was very easy to get through. As I was reading this, I'd highlight words that I didn't know and then like look up the meaning and write it all in the book as well. I also got this one, which is a Chibi Maruko-chan 2, and this is actually for children, but it's got like really big writing and it's got the furigana next to all the kanji, and every chapter has one picture page. Oh, there's also one other book by Sakura Momoko, which was like a kind of memoir of her days as a child, and this was like an actual book for adults, which I felt very superior reading. Definitely didn't understand it like 100% perfectly, but like I could get the gist. And the one thing I love about Japanese books for reading is that they're really small, so you can fit them in your bag, unlike English books, which like, who wants to carry that around? On to how I studied. Firstly, I made sure that I had a space to study. So I set up this desk to be my studying space, and I knew that when I sat down here, my brain was in doing Japanese mode. So I would have my little candle, which the only reason I'm using it is because I want to get rid of it. But when I lit that scent was supposed to remind me like that my brain was in study mode. Don't know if it worked or not. Probably didn't. And my family all knew that too. Like if I was at that desk, they weren't allowed to bother me for anything, even though they still did. But I split my studying into kind of like two groups. In-depth study, fun study. Watching Japanese TV shows, that goes into fun study, where I didn't have to actually like take notes about every single thing I didn't understand. And then there was like deep study, where I kind of like took notes about everything. I have two different notebooks. First one is for like just my dumping of all my messy kind of stuff. So this is where I do like little practice tests or write down vocabulary that I didn't know, stuff like that. And then when I wanted to make it all pretty and neat, I'd transfer it into this notebook, which is where I'd write like grammar and example sentences. The little kind of sushi on the side here, these are for pages where I don't really know the grammar very well yet, so I can easily just like flip back and reference it. I also used to never write in my textbooks. Like we were always told we should never mark them with pen or pencil or anything, mostly because like we used to be able to sell them on to kids in younger grades so that if they were perfect, our mums could get more money for them. But this time I wrote in my textbooks, highlighted, made notes, put sticky notes, and I found that that helped me really engage with the content a lot better. So I would definitely recommend doing that if your mum lets you. But I also tried to use new grammar with my own sentences, especially if they were stupid sentences, and then try and use it again when I would talk to Shinya, like on Skype or something like that, or even just message it to him. My main tip for the kanji section is try and cover the answers and just look at the kanji first and see if you can remember how to read it, because there's going to be some really similar multiple choices there that'll just confuse you, but it's probably the one that like you know it internally, so trust yourself first. For the reading section, read the question but not the multiple choice answers before you read the passage, because then you know what information you've got to take note of while you're reading. One of the things that I hated at first were those stupid scramble questions. These are the hardest thing ever, but I actually came to quite like them. So my tip for them would be to look for grammar patterns, because these questions are not checking if you can like string together natural Japanese. They're checking if you know like the grammar pattern A no yo ni B or something like that. So if you can kind of like remember what grammar patterns exist and go, oh, well this and this go like that, and then we can just throw those words in, it will be much easier for you. One other thing that I found to be incredibly helpful was to do a properly timed mock test at an institution. Because like, I could time myself doing like practice papers or doing the practice listening, but you kind of like are very easy on yourself and let yourself slack off and like I'd go get a snack or go to the bathroom. But if you go to an institution that's running a mock test, it's going to resemble what the actual test is like, and that's going to really help you prepare, especially for people like me who'd literally never taken the JLPT before in their life. So I did mine in the city, and it just went through all the exact timings with all the different sections of the test, one after the other, and that's how I learned that I needed to practice endurance and mental endurance. So on test day, not gonna lie, I was very nervous, mostly because I'd be kind of embarrassed if I failed. Okay, so it's the day. I'm like nervous, but not so much that I'm like, ooh. I just hope that I practiced enough. So I'm here like about an hour early because of course like all of the trains were not running today, so Mum dropped me into the city. There's a couple of people here already just like reviewing and stuff, so I think I'm just gonna go over some grammar and vocabulary flashcards and do some Anki, and then we'll see how we go. What I expected the test to be like and what it was actually like were completely different. I was in a room with probably 12 other people, whereas I thought I'd be in this like gigantic hall with like literally 200 people in it. And we were just at these little oval tables with 3 people on a table. Yeah, I think I went okay on most sections, but I was a zombie after. Thanks so much for watching, and if you have any tips on how I can tackle the N2, please share them below. Bye!